This is my son. This is my son today. This is my heart and my soul today.
2 deaths and a trail of questions. Grieving families now demanding change after going to the same dentist.
Nobody's child should go through. Nobody should go through this.
There's a car that's crashed. Oh my God.
A teenager's death and a mother's mission. How a deadly cheating scheme is raising serious safety concerns on Florida roads.
Every mama deserves to keep her baby.
I think we need to call 911.
A veteran's death, a shocking discovery, and now the man's family demanding justice.
He was gasping for air, and you can hear the pulse ox machine alarming and going off. And then after that, you don't hear it go off anymore.
Hands up! Slowly open the driver door!
A First Coast News investigation taking you inside a child predator sting operation. And tonight, the lessons learned by unveiling how offenders manipulate, groom, and target children.
This is not a game. You need to understand that.
I will say without a shadow of a doubt, my child was not abused.
A doctor's resignation amid scrutiny over her handling of child abuse cases. Tonight, families are still battling to hold the system accountable and protect children.
She took a breastfeeding mom away from her newborn babies.
Tonight, how technology is helping stop wrong-way drivers on Florida interstates before they cause deadly crashes.
There really wasn't a human being anymore.
Finding hope and purpose. How one veteran who battled nightmares has now found life again.
If you had not gotten Bobby, then what?
I would not be here. I would for sure be dead.
This is Dateline Jacksonville. Hello, and thank you for joining us for Dateline Jacksonville. I'm Heather Crawford. We begin with a First Coast News investigation into a nearly $40,000 dental procedure in Ponte Vedra, a procedure that was supposed to deliver a new smile. But something went terribly wrong during the implant dentistry procedure. And now a 44-year-old father is dead. And our investigation found this is not the first patient to die after being treated by this dentist.
This is my son. This is my son today. This is my heart and my soul today.
Holding his son's ashes, Roy Estes still can't believe what happened. It was inside this office building in Ponte Vedra where his son, who he says had a heart of gold and dedicated his time to helping the elderly, went to have dental implants on October 10th.
They advertised an all-in-one. So he was going to have 23 teeth pulled and 10 implants, and then 2 full arches of teeth on top of the implants.
Amy Rowell says her fiance, Roy Estes III, who was in pain from an infection, chose a dentist listed online simply as Dr. Franco with Florida Dental Implant Studio.
Dr. Franco had good reviews on his website, and they were Google reviews, and he had like a 4.8 star, and there were 64 reviews on there, and all of them were amazing. He was very overly caring, acted like he wanted to help him and get him out of pain as quick as possible.
Roy's treatment plan included a full mouth dental implant restoration done in 1 day.
All the other places that we had talked to said that, it could be a couple weeks because they would need to fight the infection a little bit before they would do surgery. And also because he dipped and said that he needed to stop the nicotine for 5 to 7 days before surgery. This one didn't. They said that he was like, that was fine. And the same with the infection. He's like, no, the sooner we get the teeth out, the sooner you'll feel better and you'll have a new smile.
And how much was he going to charge for the surgery? Was it a lot less than the others?
He price matched to be the less of the 3.
And how much was that?
$38,494.
Amy drove her fiance to the appointment, but when she got to the office, she said something didn't feel right.
What were the red flags when you took him to the Ponte Vedra office?
Looking around at the half-finished office was my first red flag, like walking in there and no chairs in their waiting room. The receptionist desk didn't have a countertop, I don't believe.
She snapped this picture of Roy at the dental office before she headed to work.
I'm kind of like looking around and questioning everything, but at that point, he's already getting doped up in the chair, and it's like my intuition was saying, okay, just put him over my shoulder and carry him out of there or something, you know, but I'm okay, well, he's a professional, and I even asked him, like, are you sure that you can handle, like, he's got sleep apnea, you're equipped for all this, and he just kept saying, yes, everything's gonna be fine, he's in good hands, he's gonna have a great smile, his infection's gonna be gone.
Hours later, just after 12:30 in the afternoon, according to this report, a call came in to St. Johns County Fire Rescue.
Hey, Fire Rescue.
Hey, I got a call at 814 A1A North.
Okay, caller. Hello?
It's going to be Suite 102.
Suite 102, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, caller?
Yeah.
Okay, what's going on?
Yeah, send the ambulance,
Listen, they're on the way, okay? And your address is 814 A1A North?
Yes.
Okay, but listen, they're on the way. Suite 102, okay, but they're on the way for helping, okay?
1 o'clock is when Dr. Franco called me and said that Roy stopped breathing. He said that he pulled all his bottom teeth and got partial done with the top, and Roy started coming to some. So at that point is when he started to say something, and I was like, well, what was he saying? He's like, well, I couldn't really make it out, and like gurgling or something, and then he just took a couple breaths and stopped breathing.
My grandson calls me and says, Grandpa, are you sitting down? And he goes, Dad's dead. And from there,
Roy never made it home. His death certificate lists his place of death as the dental office. His manner and cause of death still pending.
And this is your fiance who's supposed to have a same-day dental procedure. When you found out he had died, what went through your mind?
All kinds of stuff. I was mad at myself for leaving him there. I was mad for not questioning more. I was mad at the doctor. You know, I just didn't have any answers, you know. I don't know.
It wasn't until after his death that Raul and Roy's father say they learned Dr. Franco wasn't the dentist's real name. When they searched Florida Dental Implant Studio on the state's Sunbiz website, they discovered his real identity. They say his real name appears nowhere on his website, making it difficult for patients to find out about his past.
He calls himself Dr. Franco. He signs off as Dr. Franco, but his real name is Francesco Sabastini. We found out later, after my son died, that there's pending action from the state because this has happened in 2023. Another person died.
Colleen Kraus-Straw went to get implants from the same doctor at a different dental practice in Jacksonville in 2023. She died a few days later after complications during her dental procedure with Dr. Francesco Sebastiani. According to this administrative complaint, the Department of Health filed with the Florida Board of Dentistry.
She was there for about 3 or 4 days, on a ventilator, life support.
John Slade, a good friend of Colleen, says she was the former CEO of the North Florida Flight Center and donated countless flights to help transport those in need of medical care.
She had a heart bigger than anything I've ever seen.
According to the complaint filed in connection with Colleen's death, Dr. Sebastiani failed to treat a high-risk patient in a hospital setting, failed to maintain appropriate monitoring, and failed to attempt to stabilize her when she stopped breathing.
It was a tragic loss for everybody that knew her.
This past January, 9 months before Roy died, the Florida Surgeon General requested the board permanently revoke or suspend Dr. Sebastiani's license, restrict his practice, and/or fine him, reprimand him, or place him on probation. To date, no emergency actions or discipline have been taken according to the Department of Health's website, while Sebastiani formally disputes the allegations and awaits an administrative hearing. But additional allegations against him date back years. According to this federal lawsuit, Sebastiani was fired by Dental Alliance from a dentist practice in Palm Beach County in 2021 after misrepresenting himself. The Professional Dental Alliance of Florida claimed that he falsely held himself out as a specialist in oral and maxillofacial surgery during his application and interview process and to his insurers, something Sebastiani disputed. The lawsuit also claims he performed dental and oral surgery procedures requiring the administration of moderate sedation without the proper permit required by Florida law, and his former employer reported that to the state. The case was ultimately dismissed.
Everything is deceptive. Everything is deceptive.
The office of Dr. Franco. We are currently not available to take your call.
I called Dr. Sebastiani multiple times with no response.
The person you're trying to reach is not available.
And visited his office twice, but was told he wasn't there and he never called me back.
And I'm committed, 110%. I will do whatever I need to do to ensure that no one else's child has to go through this. Nobody's child should go through, nobody should go through this. I will do whatever. That's all I can do, Heather. That's all I can do.
His father is also calling for the laws to change. He does not think this type of oral surgery should ever be done in an office setting.
That's invasive surgery. We need to reach out to our legislators, and I'm calling on our governor. I'm calling on our Surgeon General right now. I'll look you square in the eyes. I'm calling on you right now to please, 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 let's take a look at this. It's pulling 23 teeth out of your head and then drilling your bones through your gums and putting in implants. That is invasive. We need surgery centers.
Now, the Florida Department of Health says Sebastiani is challenging the allegations in the administrative complaint tied to Colleen's death. He has requested a hearing at the Division for Administrative Hearings. Sebastiani's attorney says that Sebastiani extends his sincere condolences to the Estes family for their loss. However, any implication he caused or contributed to Mr. Estes's passing is factually unsupported and misleading to the public. His statement goes on to say that the treatment provided by Dr. Sebastiani fully met all applicable standards of care, and to date, there are no medical findings showing any link to Sebastiani's treatment.
It's his fingerprint. It is. It's the last thing that I have of him.
7 years after losing her son Connor, the scheme this mother is exposing that's putting unqualified truckers behind the wheel. Next on Dateline Jacksonville. Welcome back to Dateline Jacksonville. Now to a First Coast News investigation into a dangerous cheating scheme right here at home. It's putting unqualified truck drivers behind the wheel. And now Jeannie Blaylock looks at a Nassau County mother's fight to pass a national law after her son was killed in a crash on I-95. The trucker who hit him couldn't speak English, and her mission is to make sure that never happens again.
There's a car that's crashed. Oh my God.
911 calls from 2017. I-95 near Yulee, a 26-car pileup, and inside this car, Connor Design, a new graduate of Creekside High.
No mother should be forced to lose their babies.
His mom back then showing me her necklace.
Do you find yourself touching that a lot like that?
It's from the funeral home.
It's his fingerprint. It is. It's the last thing that I have of him.
And now, 7 years later, she's still wearing it.
And I said I wasn't gonna cry.
Now she has something new to say along with her attorney, Curry Pagic.
Commercial truck drivers who can't read and speak English, take them off the road because they're killer drivers.
Patrick says the trucker who crashed into Connor could not read English. His name, Yadwinder Sangha. Patrick says Sangha, who speaks Punjabi, used an interpreter in his tape deposition under oath, and he admits this.
I don't read English.
The sign said, "Slow down, traffic stopped ahead."
That message, he says, starting 6 miles back before the crash scene. And how many signs were there?
At least 3.
In April, President Donald Trump signed an executive order saying this.
Truck drivers who can't read and can't speak English must be taken off the road immediately.
But it does not solve a big issue.
These global trucking companies who are bringing non-English speaking drivers from Canada, Mexico, and India, driving on our roads and exposing our children to harm.
And now we have an exclusive look into a criminal investigation about just that. We've obtained documents about 5 people arrested in Jacksonville. We're showing only the face of the man already convicted. The charges? Felonies. Cheating to get their CDL, commercial driver's license to drive a truck. Do the men arrested speak English? On the arrest reports, take a look. All requested interpreters. The arrests fall under the Bureau of Criminal Investigations and Intelligence from the Florida Highway Patrol. It's complex?
This is a very elaborate case. It is.
Sergeant Dylan Bryan with FHP says there is now an investigation statewide across Florida. Dozens and dozens of cases, he says. And the cheating scheme centered in Jacksonville.
Put your phone down. All right. Stand up for me.
You're watching now a body camera from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office of an arrest made inside the DMV on Roosevelt. One man arrested, Vladislav Yurashik, found guilty of 2 felonies, sent to jail in April for 8 months. Brian calls him above entry level, but not the mastermind. So you're looking for the kingpin?
Always.
So how does FHP say this cheating scheme works?
We were shocked to see the extent that they were going to.
Brian calls it organized fraud. According to investigators, the men went in here, the DMV on Roosevelt, to take the CDL test to drive a truck. But they are rigged up with equipment to get their answers.
And you see the actual apparatus that he's wearing. He has a chest harness that actually holds the phone.
A red iPhone in the harness, and under a t-shirt, you see the hole right there? So he comes in this t-shirt with a hole cut in it.
Yes.
Now watch this. In a video we've obtained from the DMV, this man opening his shirt. Brian says it's kind of like FaceTime. The men sit in front of a computer and wiggle around.
Their body language is abnormal.
Until somebody outside in a parking lot can read the test questions on the screen in English and then tell them through this earpiece in their language. Employees at the DMV got suspicious.
Most people don't start to disrobe when they take a DL test.
They're unbuttoning their shirts.
They are, indeed.
So the 5 men arrested so far, that's just the tip of the iceberg?
It is.
This is happening all over the country. Maybe from Jacksonville we can make a difference.
So what does all this mean for Connor's mom?
It pisses me off.
She says the executive order is not enough. Another president could wipe it away, rescind it. So she's pushing for Connor's law. Make it stick with a federal law and give officers the power to take away the keys for drivers who cannot understand English.
These big trucks kill people. They are killers when they get in crashes. You and I in our Hyundai get killed. They walk away.
Connor's case went to court. The settlement, a lot, $1 billion. However,
I don't give a damn about the money.
Because this thought,
No mother should be forced to lose their babies.
still haunts her.
Every mama deserves to keep her baby.
And Connor's Law is now sitting in Congress with 17 sponsors, including Florida Representative John Rutherford. It's gained support from several organizations, including the American Trucking Association. Right now, Florida is strictly enforcing English language proficiency for truck drivers at weigh station inspections, requiring them to speak, read signs, and complete logs in English.
He was gasping for air, and you can hear the pulse ox machine alarming and going off.
A veteran dies under home care, and investigators say the man hired as a nurse wasn't actually a nurse. Their story next on Dateline Jacksonville. Welcome back to Dateline Jacksonville and a First Coast News investigation. They're hired to care for your loved ones, but what if the nurse in your home isn't really a nurse? A tip led us to a Clay County family who learned the caretaker in their home was not who he claimed to be. But they did not find that out until their loved one, a veteran, died.
Retired U.S. Marine Sergeant Kensworth Moody was a fighter.
He always say Marines don't die.
He survived a kidney transplant and 2 heart attacks, but a brain injury took away his ability to talk.
And he was coming along. So some doctors say he was a miracle.
Sandra Moody, a registered nurse, says her husband needed around-the-clock care at their Clay County home.
He had tube feeding, trach care, he had G-tube care.
She says she found Bright Star Care through the VA.
And did they know how to take care of him?
No, I had to teach them how to do it. If I wasn't a nurse, he couldn't stay here because there was no way because of the amount of care that he needed.
October 13th of last year, she was asleep in another room when her daughter, Kendra Moody, woke up to loud music coming from her father's room.
And I looked at the camera in his room before I came down here, and I saw the nurse. He was looking at his pulse ox machine, just with a confused look on his face.
I got you, Mr. Moody. Oh.
But I went up to the bed and I touched my dad, and he was freezing cold.
A home camera in his room captured what happened.
I didn't need to call 911.
She says surveillance video she later reviewed showed her father started having trouble breathing and became unresponsive 2 hours earlier.
He was gasping for air, and you can hear the pulse ox machine alarming and going off. And then after that, you don't hear it go off anymore, and you don't see his chest rise or fall. And he just was unresponsive.
Did he ever call 911?
No, he never did.
He just completely didn't do anything.
By the time paramedics arrived, it was too late.
Right away, we start digging.
They discovered the man who had been hired to care for their loved one and had been in their home multiple times,
15 times,
wasn't who he claimed to be.
Something came over me that he was not a nurse.
When she looked him up on Facebook, her concerns were confirmed.
His name showed up with another person's face.
It was actually quite shocking.
Records show the nurse impersonator was using the name Derez Wiggum and had 2 active patients. We were able to track down the real Derez, who is a licensed practical nurse.
It's scary. It's scary for me, as a nurse, and probably for other nurses too.
He told us he'd worked briefly for Bright Star and found out from a detective someone was pretending to be him.
The individual gave them my name and information, and, said that they were me and that they were a licensed practical nurse.
11 days after Moody died, the State Agency for Healthcare Administration, known as AHCA, issued an emergency suspension order for Bright Star Care of East Jacksonville, Neptune Beach, an independently owned and operated franchise with a Jacksonville address.
I just don't want him being pushed off. He was far from dying.
The order says video recordings revealed an unlicensed home health aide who represented himself as a licensed practical nurse using another person's name, failed to alert Miss Moody when her husband started to show signs of respiratory distress, silenced the oxygen saturation monitor alarm, administered sugar water when his glucose monitor alerted, and after he became unresponsive, did not initiate CPR or call for help.
For you to walk into a house and pretend that you're a nurse to take care of somebody who's sick, what do you expect to happen?
An AHCA investigation revealed a slew of problems at the Bright Star franchise. The emergency suspension order says the customer care coordinator had a warrant for her arrest for fraud, and the director of nursing was facing criminal charges related to a shooting in Jacksonville. The order also says the company billed for services not provided and placed patient health, safety, and welfare at immediate risk.
I need that this never happens to any veteran. I just want justice for my husband's death because I know he depended on me to be his voice, and I felt like I was robbed of that.
Now, Bright Star Care's corporate team says its top priority is the safety and well-being of its clients. It terminated the franchise agreement. In March, the alleged fake nurse and his fiance were arrested. They now are in jail facing 16 charges, including 14 counts of practicing medicine without a license. They have pleaded not guilty and are awaiting trial. The medical examiner ruled Moody's manner of death as natural. His family is fighting to have that changed to undetermined.
They're scumbags. They're the worst of our society to prey on children for sexual acts. They're sick. They're sick.
Dozens of arrests in secret online stings targeting child predators, including a suspect investigators say showed up with his own child. An exclusive look inside the operation and the warning signs every parent needs to know. That's next on Dateline Jacksonville. Welcome back to Dateline Jacksonville. Next up, an exclusive look inside a child predator sex operation right here at home. It led to dozens of arrests, but it's not about who was arrested, but the method. Now we have an inside look at how investigators say predators are finding and grooming children online right here in our area. For the first time, the sheriff allowing cameras inside the operation, and Jeannie Blaylock shows you the warning signs every parent needs to know.
Operation Deviant Nightfall.
Keep on backing up. Hey, don't turn around.
Operation Stuffed Animals.
They were just coming out of the woodwork, just one after the other.
Hands up! Slowly open the driver door!
Just in the last 2 sting operations this year,
I have no idea what's going on.
the Nassau County Sheriff's Office has arrested 31 men. One is Willie Wright.
My son is in here.
According to Detective Josh Carter, Wright is a preacher who showed up with his son.
What's going on?
The child admitted that the father gave him medication, presumably to be asleep while he has sex with this child here in our community.
Wow, this is embarrassing.
Another Christopher James Esparza. According to the arrest warrant, he thought he was meeting a 14-year-old for sex. Esparza asked the child on the Grindr app if he wanted to be a bottom, a slang sexual term. And the arrest warrant says he was found with meth, marijuana, and condoms.
They're scumbags. They're the worst of our society to prey on children for sexual acts. They're sick. They're sick.
This is not a game. You need to understand that.
In just hours, these undercover detectives start their arrest. It doesn't take long. And what does that say?
That says that there's plenty of them out there that are doing these crimes.
Arrest after arrest, Detectives Carter and Charlie Lucas tell me they want parents to wake up to see how these guys get their victims. And so Sheriff Bill Lieber gives me permission.
This is the first time we have.
It is the first time he allows a TV reporter to come watch a sting from the inside. We can't show you all the complexities of the sting operation, but I watched law enforcement chatting online, posing as young girls or boys. And so I'm asking these undercover detectives, how do these conversations get started? Well, for example, this gets posted. And then the sexual deviant, the predator, says, "Oh, I'm sorry you've had a bad day," and the conversation goes from there. The words sound innocent, but some of these guys use tricks. You're watching the arrest of Charles McPhail in 2022 in Nassau County, charged with 2 felonies, traveling to meet a minor and lewd solicitation of a child by computer. McPhail still on supervised probation. Some people would say, I can't believe he's sitting down here talking about this.
Yeah.
Like why?
Just to show that people do change.
In the arrest report, the girl told him she was 14. Actually, she was an adult undercover. And it says McPhail told her he would use a condom. His arrest outside this house, McPhail thought he was meeting up with a young girl. Instead, it was police. I hear parents say, well, I've warned my kids, they know. What would you tell them?
Oh, man.
He says, be blunt.
Yeah, you may have a conversation once or twice.
But he says that's not enough. You need to talk more with your children. Do your kids know the code words? McPhail says he never used the word sex. That tips off police, he says. Instead, he'd say a visit or a meeting.
I guess just like hang out. I'll come see you, I want to visit you. So if you're seeing these kind of words, then yes, then it's not innocent.
And pay attention to this. He used some psychology.
You're really covertly conditioning them to lower their guard.
He gives them a choice, as if they have control.
Hey, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do this. And that was something that I said.
You could say that's pretty tricky. That's pretty manipulative.
Oh, absolutely.
And at the sting operation, law enforcement tells me they see these exact tricks. Jamie Davis is an intelligence analyst with Internet Crimes Against Children.
These guys are targeting what kids want. They want to feel validated. They want to feel important. They want some extra cash.
And when your child says, but this guy says nice things to me, or,
oh, they said I'm more mature. No, you're an easy target.
So, do your kids know the tricks?
If your child is talking to strangers online, they need to stop.
And do they know the schemes? In some cases, the predators give kids free alcohol, free marijuana, and then they say, if you don't have sex with me, I'll tell your parents.
The kids were scared, and so, they have sex with a grown man, and 35 years old, and, they're 12, 13 years old.
Detective Lucas says, come on, parents, get real.
Lifelong police officer, I do not ever look at it, though it won't happen to my kid.
And detectives urge parents to regularly check your kids' phones, talk openly about online conversations, and watch for coded language predators use to lure victims. They add you should tell your children that they're not in trouble and that they can come to you with anything, and that you're there to help no matter what they've done or what they're facing.
And they can't just keep handing her a medical license without acknowledging what happened in the previous position. She took milestones from me that I will never get back.
A mother finally reunited with her children after a child abuse investigation she says should have never happened. Her fight for answers and why she says other families could still be at risk. That's next on Dateline Jacksonville. Now on Dateline Jacksonville, a new chapter in a case that tore families apart and raised serious questions. Dr. Barbara Knox, the child abuse pediatrician scrutinized in our investigation, formally resigned from the University of Florida this summer. She's now licensed to practice in California. The mother whose case first brought Dr. Knox to our attention is speaking out after regaining custody of her 3 young children.
I'm very grateful to be home. I would never have made it through this without my faith. God has truly been my rock.
Under the rainbow she goes. Woohoo!
It's the simple moments like these that Diana Sullivan treasures the most now. Afternoons in the backyard with her 2-year-old twins and 5-year-old daughter. For 19 months, she only saw them under supervision after a 2023 emergency room visit for her baby daughter's swollen leg triggered a child abuse investigation.
For our story, what I feel like stands out the most is our children are born through IVF. These children were very much wanted and prayed for.
Doctors, including Barbara Knox, then head of the First Coast Child Protection Team, concluded her baby's fractures were from abuse.
What role do you believe Dr. Knox played in you having your 3 children removed from your custody?
A very large role. She was a driving force behind the accusations and making everything sound much more egregious than it was.
From Wisconsin to Alaska to Florida.
I will say without a shadow of a doubt, my child was not abused.
Families have fought back disputing Dr. Knox's findings.
And they can't just keep handing her a medical license without acknowledging what happened in the previous position. She took milestones from me that I will never get back. She took a breastfeeding mom away from her newborn babies.
Sullivan says her daughter's injuries were caused by a medical condition that at the time was undiagnosed. While the Division of Family and Children's Services initially sought to terminate her parental rights.
This is the first time she's probably heard me talk about the bad times.
You glad to have your mama back with you all the time?
A judge eventually allowed her and her husband to regain custody, citing the best interest of the children.
This will be a trauma for my entire family that time and God can only probably heal.
Her pain is part of a larger pattern critics say demands accountability. Dr. Knox's resignation comes 7 months after 9 members of the child protection team called for her removal, citing a toxic work environment and concerns over her handling of abuse cases. Sullivan remembers exactly when she learned Knox had signed a separation agreement with the University of Florida.
It was a mixture of happy tears at first. I was just a relief that other families aren't going to have to encounter that. And then the what ifs. What if she would have resigned before? Why did we have to encounter her?
She now hopes Florida's medical board will fully investigate Knox before she treats families elsewhere.
These children are being removed from loving homes and innocent families going through the worst trauma of their lives. And to think about families that don't have the financial means to fight for their kids and just have to give up. It has to stop somewhere.
She refuses to step back, determined to hold the system accountable.
I will always fight for answers. There is no way I will be able to know this world exists now and know that other families could be going through this. If I could do anything to advocate and make a change, I will be doing it.
We have reached out to Dr. Barbara Knox multiple times, but have yet to get a response. The California Medical Board's website shows Knox was issued a medical license there in November, and the address listed as a tribal health clinic in Fort Jones. Terrifying wrong-way crashes caught on camera, some deadly. An inside look at the high-tech system watching Florida highways in real time and what those flashing alerts really mean when they light up during your drive. Next, when Dateline Jacksonville returns.
We have new details about a heavy police presence in Jacksonville Beach.
Driver fired gunshots along the interstate today, prompting a police chase.
Stream extended coverage on First Coast News Plus.
Welcome back to Dateline Jacksonville. A few months ago, driving on I-95, I saw an electronic sign flash a warning, and it said wrong way driver reported, use caution. Frankly, it was terrifying. I didn't know what to do, so I got off at the next exit. Well, now I've learned a high-tech detection system designed to stop those drivers before they crash is expanding across Northeast Florida. And when you see those alerts, take them seriously.
Terrifying moments caught on camera. Cars barreling down the wrong side of Florida highways, ending in head-on collisions that could have been prevented. Some of them deadly, like this crash that killed Tampa police officer Jesse Madsen in the line of duty as he tried to protect other drivers.
So this is a wrong-way driving system.
We were recently invited inside the Northeast Florida Regional Transportation Management Center, where hundreds of traffic cameras and detection systems are monitored around the clock. The Florida Department of Transportation, Highway Patrol, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, Jacksonville Fire and Rescue, and Florida Fish and Wildlife share this space, ready to respond to anything from congestion to crashes to one of the most dangerous alerts, a wrong-way driver.
So the wrong-way driving program started about 10 years ago in our sister District 7, Tampa area. And the effort was to be able to detect wrong-way drivers on interstate exit ramps and then be able to notify law enforcement and have responders ready to try to stop the vehicle. In the Northeast Florida region, it was 5 years ago we started our program. We've deployed, I believe, about 60 to 65, with another 70 due in the next few years.
The detection systems are placed at hotspots, interstate ramps where wrong-way drivers are more likely. The moment a car goes the wrong way, sensors activate flashing signs and send an alert here, where cars can be monitored on these cameras.
Our system will give them an alert with signs that have flashing LED to let them know, hey, you're going the wrong way. But if they continue, it's alerting this facility, and then we coordinate with Florida Highway Patrol in order to respond.
You may have seen the alerts light up on overhead signs. Peter Vega with the Florida Department of Transportation says when you see the message, take it seriously.
Those are triggered automatically by our system. So when we get the alert, our software and network is saying, post this message on the sign to let the motorists go in the right way, that they may be in danger.
The goal? To get you to take action.
The hope is that with that message, they'll do the appropriate thing, which is to slow down, pull over to the shoulder, or even stop their car away from danger, so that way, if there is a wrong-way driver continuing in their direction, hopefully there isn't an accident, but if there is, they've reduced that kinetic energy, which can lead to serious harm.
So how close is that driver to you when the sign goes up?
It is dependent. So in some locations in St. Johns County is a good example where the intersections are very, very far away. It can be 4 or 5 miles. In an urbanized area like Jacksonville, 1 to 2 miles.
Once the danger passes, the alert is turned off. It's part of a twofold system. Alert the driver going the wrong way and alert everyone else in their path. New tracking technology is now in testing designed to follow the vehicle further up the highway.
Right now, there are about 450 traffic cameras operating in the Jacksonville region. The Florida Department of Transportation says you can check live views and get alerts for crashes, construction, and wrong-way drivers using their FL 511 website or app. It started with a bowl of cereal and a war that followed her home, a veteran's battle with PTSD and addiction, and the service dog she says saved her life. Next, when Dateline Jacksonville continues. Now to a story that begins with a bowl of cereal and leads us into the darkest chapter of a young woman's life. After serving in Iraq, Becca came home to a world she couldn't bear. Nightmares took over, drugs followed, and for nearly 10 years, her life fell apart. But Jeannie Blaylock looks at the moment that changed everything. A service dog named Bobby and a program that gave Becca a reason to live.
I think my go-to was Lucky Charms.
Fun cereal, but it actually takes us to a terrible time in Becca's life. After her service in Iraq, the dark pit of PTSD.
I remember for a long time I just lived off of cereal because it was something that I could get at the gas station. I could just run in, grab it. I wouldn't have to go into a whole grocery store with all of the colors and all of the noises and all of the people.
Yeah, even colors set off anxiety, overstimulation. Why? Her brain was numbed in the deserts of Iraq.
Everything is brown, everything is yellow.
And with the PTSD, also the nightmares.
Oftentimes I would have to change my sheets daily because I would wake up and the whole bed would be just drenched in my sweat.
She wound up on drugs.
It was heroin and fentanyl.
And for how long?
Almost 10 years.
To buy the drugs, she'd steal.
At one point, I was writing checks to myself from my parents' checkbook.
And talking with Becca, this really hit me hard.
I really wasn't a human being anymore.
But now the story turns happy. At Canines for Warriors, Becca is paired up with Bobby. And this is huge. Now, I know it sounds tiny, but it's not. The very first step.
Getting out of bed, number one, I would have to feed her.
Bobby gave Becca a reason to live, made her responsible. And over the last 8 years,
the greatest thing I've ever done is rebuild the relationship with my parents.
Her mom for Mother's Day at Canines.
So she cried the whole time.
Aww. And now Becca has a job with the St. Johns County Sheriff, helping inmates get a life after incarceration. And yes, Bobby is always with her, leaning in for the ear rub.
If you had not gotten Bobby, then what?
I would not be here. I would for sure be dead, or I would be in jail or prison. Without her, there's no way I would have ever gotten any better.
Becca found hope when she needed it the most, and you can learn how you can help Canines for Warriors with its mission by visiting caninesforwarriors.org. That's our time for Dateline Jacksonville. You can count on us to continue bringing you these important stories, stories that matter, stories that spark change. I'm Heather Crawford. For all of us here at First Coast News, thank you for joining us.